I wish it was home, so I could watch from someone else's lens to decide if I regret not going to the hardest spot in the bay.
Yeah, I've been kind of keeping it on the D. Well, so I didn't know where to put it because you've never been in my house, but my house, the backyard is just like grass, and I don't have like an actual driveway. I just have like a gravel thing that we park on. So I was gonna put it in the street, and I was like, it's gonna be so weird because I get so hyped when I play basketball. Like, it's gonna be weird for all my neighbors because like I live right on the corner of like a T.
Yeah.
So I've got neighbors everywhere that would just be like watching, and it's like a naked feeling. So I'm keeping it at Gus's house.
Shit.
Yeah, he was right across the street. He's I think he's taking it easy. At least when I go. We're still social distancing. We played one time, and maybe it's just because I beat him. He didn't want to play again. But.
Yeah, man, this shit is crazy. Like, I've been playing soccer in front of my house, like in my
really?
fucking drive, basically. Yeah, and it's fine. It's just obviously not the same as playing basketball. You know what I mean?
Dude, honestly, it's been that was a big blow. Like, that's some of the best, like, most positive activity that I have in my life. So. When the guy came and took the rim, it was like poetic moment. He was like, you got to move on, brother. You got to find some other shit to do. And then I just went on Walmart.com. I was like, fuck you, dude. I'm getting one shipped to me.
You just start crying. It's like, dude, what are you doing to me?
What? It was funny because he goes because I was on like the back, the far right one, like when you get there. And so I didn't see him even show up. I was just like, I was playing. And this is at the time where we're still social distancing and stuff. So I'm not playing with anybody ever for like 2 weeks. And so I'm just playing. And I just hear through my headphones, like my headphones were blasting. So he just goes like, ah! And I turn around. I was like, holy shit. And I see it's a dude from the parks department. He's like, I'm here to take the rims. And I was like, really? That's fucking like crazy, but he's like, don't worry, I'll take yours last.
Oh, like, that's nice.
Really sweet. That was really sweet. Which is funny because if he came over and took mine first, I would just go to one of the other ones.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was just such a nice, enjoy your last moments kind of thing.
Dude, it's crazy. Like, I think the week before you told me that they took the rims away, we were playing, and by we, I mean literally just myself and Brent, because I was trying to not play like in big groups or whatever. And a cop was just there, parked in the parking lot. So I feel like they were probably watching us and saying, people are just coming out to this park and they're not stopping.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of cops there, but I also feel like it's a weed drop spot.
Oh, true. That's
high schoolers come there to like make out and sell weed to each other.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
So,
but I do feel like they were there. They were watching. They were like, these motherfuckers need to stay home.
Yeah, sell your weed, but don't sell that virus, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Only Corona beer.
Yeah, exactly. Finally, Corona looks good by example.
How is your work going?
It non-existent as far. I had like 3 projects. I had it was like an art project, or like an art project that I was going to film for a friend who was a professor at USF, and that was like my last holdout. Like, there's some other perspective possibilities that were like jobs around the corner. This was like, this is still gonna happen. It's like an art thing. It's gonna pay really well. And then he was the last one to be like, yeah, they canceled the whole thing. So yeah, I'm not getting a grant or any of that kind of shit. But then today I just got the IRS check. So I'm just like,
you got the stimulus check?
Yeah, I stayed up all night last night in my shed, like working on this thing, and I checked at 4 o'clock in the morning, and there was just $1,200 more in my account, and I was like, this is the most surreal experience. It's almost like bad because it's good, it's great. I'm so glad I have it, of course, but it's almost like bad because I want to feel that again. Like I want to just wake up with like money in my account that I have no, you know what I mean? Like I can, and if I'm feeling that, if I'm feeling that, and I'm pretty like aware of my own thoughts and emotions and shit, there are millions of people out there going like, this is pretty fucking sweet right now.
Yeah.
I don't like this virus. This is the best fucking virus.
People sick on their fucking hospital beds, just like, hey, but I get that $1,200.
That's the weird thing about this, isn't it? Like, that's the weird thing is, like, all this is done in my life. That's, I have concerns. My mom is in like a assisted living facility, and I have specific kind of like concerns going on right now. But in my day-to-day life, it's kind of simplified everything. Like, I know you're still working. Since I'm not, I have to make my days. I have to like fill shit in. And what that ends up doing, for me is I pay more attention to my decisions. I'm eating better. I bought the fucking basketball, so I'm doing that, I'm doing that on the regular. I'm meditating more. Like I've been talking for years about how I need to start meditating again. I feel more centered than I've felt in a long time. But at the same time, people are dying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This whole thing is like and that's what you call silver lining. Is like I spent like the first week or 2 weeks not freaking out, but just like living in the new reality, like trying to just soak it up. And then at a certain point, you're just like, all right, I get it.
Yeah.
I have to survive or whatever.
Yeah, you have to kind of. So for me, the first 2 weeks where I was like, I thought I had it the whole time. I felt like I was getting something. I was like, oh, my throat is feeling weird, all this shit. And then I realized that it was just anxiety. So basically, once I realized, okay, so it's been 2 weeks now, and that feeling that you had has gone away. Your chest doesn't feel the same way anymore. That was just anxiety. Now I feel completely fine. And the only thing that I've noticed in change has been the fact that I haven't been able to go play basketball, because that was a big part of what I was doing daily, or rather, whatever, 3 times a week or whatever. But now that we don't have that, I'm kind of like, fuck, dude. That's literally, besides music and obviously friends and family, that's like a huge part of my life.
Definitely. Well, I might actually have a chance to beat you now.
Nah, not even, dude.
I'm going to get like months of practice in, dude.
Not even.
I got them Kyrie handles now.
It sucks, man. I can't wait for. And the other thing too is like we don't know how long this is gonna last for. We don't know when they're gonna start opening shit back up.
So the way that I'm thinking about it, and I'm not living in the stress of it, but I'm keeping educated. They're definitely. I think we've talked about Sam Harris before. His podcast is a great resource. He does, one podcast a week about the thing. Usually, maybe less even, but it's kind of just like it's kind of like a head above water moment where it's like, okay, I can kind of look around and be like, okay, shit is not good, it sucks, but I at least I know I'm getting it from a source that has no stake in the game, left or right or whatever, because like that's the whole crazy thing right now is just like I kind of want to know where this is going, but I don't trust anybody's approximation of where it's going other than people who know the absolute most that they can know about this kind of shit. Yeah. So, like, when you ask that person, they're still going to say, I don't know how long this is going to go on, but we can judge by what happened so and so and so and so and so, so that So it looks like this is going to go on for like, a while, but really, I think, it comes down to like everyone just taking the opportunity to do something, whether it's with yourself or whatever.
So for us, where we're both artistic people, we're both creative people. Like in times like these, we can actually go towards our creative outlets. With me in music, you in film, or you in writing, or whatever. And I kind of wonder, for the people that don't have that outlet, what are they doing? Like, how are they kind of coping with this kind of thing?
Well, it's kind of a weird thing. I mean, this is a crazy simplification of it, but not like either of us are, fueling the entertainment of the world right now, but people like us are. They're getting people through this whole thing, music and movies and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of it's like a backlog because not a lot's being made right now. But, you've got decades, 100 years of movies, hundreds of years of music, all this kind of, books that people have been meaning to read for like years and years and years. It's creative people who are getting people, I think, through this. And like, I'm not on Instagram and shit, but I know that's giving a lot of people comfort. Just like, people acting the same way that they were acting before and referencing what's going on and being like, oh, this shit's crazy, but I'm still, wearing a cat costume or whatever the gimmick is.
Yeah.
It's like, it makes people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And, but that's why I think I feel an urge right now to put something out from this. Like, this is such a specific moment. I love history, and I don't often feel like I'm a part of it until moments like this. And there's not that many. And it's like, it's really not for anybody else. It's like, I kind of want to look back and see what I did in this period of time, like what this brought out of me. So, you kind of have to drive yourself crazy a little bit to get there, because like, you're not like totally relaxed. Whether you're working or you're just like worrying or whatever it is at any given moment, there's going to be something that like ekes in because it's a global pandemic.
Yeah.
You're not going to have like 6 days of just like, oh my God, this is fucking awesome. Because then you check your phone, it's like 8,000 more people die in 15 minutes. It's like,
yeah.
If you have like morals and principles, it's hard to just like enjoy this. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah, because for myself, where I guess I would probably be enjoying it a little more if I didn't have to go to work. And to be honest, I say that now, but then I stay home and I realize that there's so much time in the day, and then I start to go crazy. I know what would happen. I feel like I would just be sleeping a lot, to be honest. That would be the majority of my time.
You deserved it.
Yeah.
You've earned it.
Waking up at fucking 1:00 in the afternoon. But I will say that on the weekends, for example, not being able to go out and go to shows and stuff has allowed me to focus a lot on writing music and recording stuff. So that's cool. Right. And the fact that I have that here, I have the equipment, I have all that stuff. So that's been nice. And even to the point, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was going to say that it has a lot to do with what I've been thinking about, where when you think about doing a show, like I'd imagine when you're getting ready for a show, it's a lot of future thought. You're thinking about the show, how you're preparing for the show, you're doing all this. This kind of relegates all of us to the present. Like we're kind of afraid of what's going to happen in the past, or in the future, and we're trying to like prognosticate, or whatever the word is, to see what's going to be happening in a month or 2 months or whatever. But really all we can do is just figure out how to get through right now, whether people are watching fucking, amazing movies that they never saw, or useless bullshit like Tiger King. They're gonna get through it however they get through it. But it took a global pandemic for me to watch something as stupid as Tiger King.
I haven't seen it yet, man.
I mean, I'm not gonna hate.
No, hate on it, dude. I want to hear your criticisms, bro.
Okay. So I like a lot of movies where there's like no, redeeming characters or whatever, but this is real life. You know, this is like a real thing. I don't watch reality TV, but I think real life is really interesting. So it's easy for me, especially with like Tampa relations with this lady. You know, she lives in Tampa. I was like, all right. You know, it's been like 3 weeks. I'm literally avoiding watching or listening to podcasts because they talk about Tiger King, like, you know, New York Times podcasts that I usually listen to that are like talking about this thing. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna listen to this. I'll watch it eventually. Then this fucking pandemic hits, and I'm just like, okay, I'll watch. Everybody in it is hateful and hateable, and there's no redeeming qualities in anybody, which is fine. But it's too real to be entertaining, and it's too entertaining to be taken for the reality that it actually is. Yeah. And it's like at the end of it, I just was like, I felt like, why did I do this? Like, I already understand all this. Like, I don't need to be introduced to this. Not, you know, not tigers and shit, but just like being a shitty piece of shit, you know. Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's everywhere, you know, especially nowadays. So it's like, if this is recording, right? Yeah. If I could have anyone hear me out, I'm not telling you to not watch it. I'm just telling you to hate it if you do watch it. Because if you don't, it says something about you that you might not be ready to understand about yourself. But Tiger King.
But it's funny that you say that because there are always going to be a group of people that kind of what would you say, they're going for the person that might be the main character in the show, like someone like a Walter White or Tony Soprano, you know, like people root for those people, even though they're terrible people. But I think what it is, though, is like what the reason why someone would see Tiger King or something like that and maybe root for those people is because they see a little bit of those people in themselves, and they probably think that they're better than those people. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, because they haven't like murdered tigers in the middle of the night or been a sexual predator, as apparently everybody in that whole documentary is, except for the woman who killed her husband. And everyone thinks the woman who killed her husband is like, or she didn't definitely kill her husband, but like she's heavily suspected of killing her husband. Allegedly. Even if she did kill her husband, she's still the best one. She's the only one who doesn't like run a, you know, like a sexual predator camp. You know, it's bizarre. The whole thing is just like, is very bizarre. And I quit it like in the last episode, which is saying something.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I've heard a lot about it, and to be honest, I've been watching anime, and I just watched the Irishman for the first time.
Awesome. What'd you think?
So I thought the movie overall was okay, right? But I thought, like, what I loved about it was the acting. I thought the acting was phenomenal. Yeah. You know, like, I know Robert De Niro, I know Al Pacino, I know Joe Pesci, I know those guys. And personally. They really... Yeah, we talk all the time. I call him Bob, you know. Bobby
hey, Danny. B. Danny. You want a ball? You want to play ball? Huh?
I'll fuck you up.
Hey, I'll fuck you up. Hey, I got them handles, bro. Huh?
Yeah. So I thought it was awesome that they could still get me wrapped in that world, even with knowing that they're acting and stuff like that. Like, I still believed that they were those people and all that. So that was really cool. But I did think that the premise of the movie, and because really what it was almost like a documentary but shot as a film, in my opinion, like a biopic. It was about this guy, and it was great. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a movie that a movie that I love, for example, would be like Shawshank Redemption. I love that movie. Like that movie, I stopped. Like when I finished that movie, I felt like that was great. That was an awesome experience. Yeah. I'm trying to think of. I used to watch movies a lot.
When you were 1?
No, man. I saw that when I was like I think I'm in middle school. Like I used to watch movies all the time late at night when I was a kid, just like on fucking I guess on satellite or whatever. I would watch movies all the time, dude.
So 94, 94 is the year that Shawshank Redemption came out. 94. And that's a weird big year. Nothing else happened in 1994 except for Forrest Gump came out, Shawshank Redemption came out, Pulp Fiction came out.
It's a great movie.
Okay, I forgot the other ones. Quiz Show came out. I think Krzysztof Kieslowski's last movie came out, and maybe the Power Rangers movie.
Oh, and I know that you are a huge fan of the Power Rangers movie, right?
So my brother, Jason, if he's watching this, why are you watching this? I love you. But he took me to see Mighty Morphin Power. It's so funny because our relationship changed over time, but I have these memories like when I was like before 8 or younger, where he was the nicest fucking guy to me. Like he was so nice to me. And then he just snapped. He was like, he started like standing on my back and like jumping up and down and shit. I was just like, what did I do? But so in the period when he was like nice to me, he took me to see the Power Rangers movie, and he was 16, 17, and he took me at 8 or however old I was to go see the Power Rangers movie, and he pretended to like it. And if he didn't pretend to like it, he actually liked it at 16 or 17 to watch the Power Rangers movie, you know.
Yeah, so what does that say about him? What does that say about him?
I mean, I think he's a ninja. I think he's just I think he's an incredibly proficient physical specimen.
So out of that list that you mentioned, did you like all those movies?
Oh yeah. Actually, I think all of those were. I mean, I'm just going off the dome, but I think all of those were like the Best Picture nominees that year. But yeah. Pulp Fiction was huge. I can't really watch it anymore because I've like burned through it. It's like my whole teenage. I don't know. I would put it on.
You've seen it a lot. Yeah, you've seen it a lot. Yeah.
Too many times. Reservoir Dogs, same thing. There's certain things where like I respectfully. They're like exes or something. It's like I love you, but we don't really have that much in common right now. We'll reconnect. You know, we'll make sense of this. But,
yeah, at some point, yeah.
Yeah, we know each other's face a little too well.
So now going off of that, because we've never really talked about this before, so I'm actually really interested.
We've never hung out outside of basketball.
I know.
That's kind of my fault. I've never been to any of your shows, and you've never come to any of my strip clubs that I work at. Any of my amateur nights, you never show up.
Yeah, I've never came to any of your strip pole dances. I know, dude. But you know what? As soon as this is over, I'll be the first in line, bud.
Hey, I'm doing it on Zoom tonight.
Oh!
36 a.m.
I don't have Zoom, so sorry. You're going to have to Skype it.
It's free. Okay, fine. All right, I'll do that on my phone right next to the...
Yeah. So what was your start in, I guess, filmography and all that stuff? Where did you get your start in that?
Like when did I start being interested in it, or when did I like first start filming something?
I would say, yeah, literally your interest in like, I am deciding I want to do this for a living, you know, creatively, blah, blah, blah.
So it was probably like when I was 10 or something like that. Like it's like my whole life. Like I probably spent way too much time thinking about it. Like I spent my entire teenage years kind of like pulling back a slingshot that didn't have like a rock on it. You know, I was just like so prepared for everything that was about to happen that I just was like, so like before I wanted to be a director, I wanted to be a pastor and a cop at the same time. So that shows you how far back it goes. I no longer want to be either of those things.
No, because you are those things now.
Yeah, exactly. Just in my behavior, not my vocation. But yeah, so it goes back a long time. Like, I don't know. I think it's just like upbringing. You know, I was one of those kind of like TV jockey kids. Like my mom was working or involved in her own, life. And my brother and sister were 8 and 10 years older than me, so I would watch their VHSs, specifically like my brother's. He actually had a VHS of Pulp Fiction. That was I actually saw it at a very young age, a much earlier age than I probably should have. So like stuff like that. And it was just like a comfort place at first. And then over time, I just started to get to know more about it. And it's just kind of like the only thing I ever really wanted to do. And it's, for so much of my life, like even when I haven't been doing it, I've been working whatever job, restaurants or, anything. Hold on, I'm going to turn off my fan real fast.
Interesting. So I guess like, cause for me in music, right, I was 15 years old. I actually started playing rock band first, and then I decided, it would be cool to learn the actual instrument and, play songs that way. So for you, my question, so when did you start looking at film and kind of thinking, how is this done? How is this shot done? Like the actual like details of it. When did that start happening?
Probably with the internet, or maybe Roger Ebert. Roger Ebert's reviews, reading them. That's probably whenever I got the internet. I was probably 14 or 15 years old. Started reading like actual film criticism. It was probably even younger than I used to have no idea what movies actually were. I just loved them. So I actually had video. They used to call it the Video Movie Guide, and they would sell it at like Publix, and it was like a thick ass book that they would release every year, and it just had every movie in it. And in the back, it had like a glossary of every actor and every director. And in that glossary, you could look up someone's name, and it would tell you every movie they either acted in or directed, and then what page they were on. So you could kind of go through. So I knew so many. I was like Rain Man. If you've ever seen Rain Man,
yeah.
I knew every page of this shit. Like the things were folded. It wasn't film criticism. Like it would be like, this movie's a turkey because fucking Daryl Hannah's lowest graded performance. It's like they didn't even see the movie. They just like write 2 fucking lines. But I just wanted to know who was in it and who directed it and that it exists. That's all I wanted to know.
Yeah.
And I think also as a young man, I was fascinated that it told you why it was rated R. So it told you if there was like boobs in it or whatever. So at Blockbuster, I went in educated. I was like, which PG-13 movies can I get that my mom won't realize? So that was a lot of, it was just like a comfort thing. And then it slowly eked into like actually being interested in what it actually was. And then, it was just friends. Like other people would have video cameras. I remember my mom had me record my brother and sister's graduation shit. And I just remember like there was a button that made it go to dark. And when they did a prayer, I pushed the button so it would go to dark during the prayer. And the prayer was like 7 minutes long. And I remember when they were looking at the video of the graduation afterwards, it just went dark. And they were just like, what the fuck is going on? Where's my graduation? I was like, it's a, basically like a kid version of it. It was a creative decision. I was like, I'm the director of this movie. So I don't know. It's hard. It's a hard question to answer because it's very fluid. It just kind of like my interest in movies and watching them and my interest in movies and making them, they're almost like connected to each other. But I could tell you, it's just like having friends that were also interested and wanted to like make stuff when I was a teenager. Very embarrassing things, but things that were just like embracing the joy of like being in, not being in front of a camera, really just like having the footage at the end and being able to cut it together into something. And speaking of Reservoir Dogs, we made one of the first things I did with like my friends in high school that I was like, this is fun to edit. I don't think I'd ever edited anything before. Was a Reservoir Dogs parody where my friend was cutting off my other friend's ear while wearing a George W. Bush mask. And it was called Reservoir Bush. And I think it's still on YouTube somewhere.
I gotta watch
but
that.
Yeah, it's absolute gold. It's probably the best thing I'll ever do. It's not. It's really bad. It's like the worst fucking thing ever. But it was still like, I just remember like sitting on the computer and being like, this is so fun. And like, you know, putting the thing to the thing. And then over time, it's not just the act of it. It's probably much like making music. It's like, it's not the chord you play. It's what the chord makes you feel. It's like the chord progression. Cause like I also play music. I'm not nearly as serious about music as I am about movies, but I've played music since I was around the same age, like a teenager. And the sort of feeling that a chord progression can give you that you can't really put into words. It's like there's this is a really creamy chord progression, or this is a really like hard, like feels like you're inside of a cube chord progression. And this is like those things you write lyrics, I'd imagine, inside of those feelings. Like this chord progression makes me feel this, and this. It's the exact same thing with movies. It's you enjoy a thing, you feel a thing, and you kind of see it. You kind of see it from an outsider's perspective, and then all of a sudden you find like you're in it, and you can, while you're playing, it's actually how you feel. So what jamming is, like a good jam, this is weird to say, can feel like fucking or something. When you're done, it's like you kind of look at each other. It's kind of awkward. It's like, you know.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's when you invest something into something. It's like when you see people create things and they're just kind of like constructing something, almost like they're putting together furniture from IKEA. It's like, this is my art or whatever. Like, I hate that shit. And there's a lot of it. It's a lot of shit. But when you can tell, it doesn't matter what people are producing. It doesn't matter even if it's really good. If it's from a place that's like real and you could tell they're feeling it, then it's valuable. So it's weird. I think music and movies are like incredibly similar. It's just movies have the benefit of including music.
That's true. Yeah. You can wrap that shit. Well, yeah, because a movie without music or sound, and I don't mean like literally not hearing voices. I mean literally no music or soundtrack or what's it called, the score to it. Yeah, that could be very weird, you know?
Right. Well, so it's an interesting sort of way to, you know, a lot of my friends, you know, especially for the last like 10 years have been musicians, even longer. And so I don't like music videos. I think we've talked about this before. Like, I don't really like music videos. The ones that I like are few and far between, and they're like basically movies, or they're basically some of the most incredible like visual art pieces you could see. But, or at least that I could see. I don't want to like be like, I have the best taste, but I ended up making music videos and working in music and stuff like that. And that was a good experiment in like figuring out where my place is in something. Like, you know, if I was to make a music video for your band, for instance, your band has a way that you see things. And I don't want to necessarily make a music video that is the way that you see things solely. I don't want to go like, at least me, I don't want to go like, all right, tell me what you want. Give me what you want. I want to do that. Just whatever. But I also don't want to come to you and be like, here's what we're doing. Here's da-da-da. There's like this kind of like Dragon Ball Z, like ball, like orb that connects in the middle of us when we like, or maybe Harry Potter's better. Like we both throw our our energy, and it like unites in the middle in this like perfect thing that wouldn't have existed if I did it by myself, and wouldn't have existed if you did it by yourself.
Yeah.
And that was probably the most, as far as like filmmaking or art or whatever, the most important thing I learned. It's like a lot like jamming, is just kind of, you cannot exist in a vacuum creatively, unless you can. I can't.
Well, you could say that not only for like the different elements of having film and music, but you could even say that in between having a band. For example, like in my band, or in our band rather, we have 2 songwriters, and whenever I present a new song to the band, you know, they all write their own parts to it. So if I were to, let's say, write a song and I did everything, like I have that one perspective of that song. When they come to the table, they bring in a completely different perspective. I might give them an idea of what I want it to sound like per se, but for the most part, they have their own attributes and their own ways of doing things. So that always makes the song sound like, it just makes it sound like, oh, this is a House of I song. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so going back to what you were saying about like having your idea and then having our idea kind of meld, it's actually, if let's say for example we did do something together, I would actually look to you more than anything for advice on what you think we should do, because not only are you're the expert in film, I'm not. I have no idea. All I could do is kind of say like, this is what the song is about. This is like literally like what I would be so like curious to hear what you would think, because I could say this is what the song is about. Yeah. Like, what do you think? What do you think if the song is about? So one of the songs I have in mind is like shame, right? And the shame of society, the shaming of people to one another, the people that that profess victimhood from shame, right? So, you know, body shaming and stuff like that, when in reality a lot of people it's more about health, not necessarily talking shit about you being overweight or whatever. It's actually like, you should just be a healthier person. But like that, so like that's what the song's about. It's about wrapping all of the different forms of shame into just like this one song. So how would how would you approach that in film, for example?
Well, personally, well, short of coming up with the actual idea for the video, you know, which you could spitball and just kind of, you know, it's easy to kind of think of a bunch of, I like to simplify things. I like to make things primal, if anything, because the more primal you get, the more universal it is. So like, everyone feels shame, and I think shame is valid, because it has nothing to do with other people. I really like, you know, people can shame other people, but to feel shame, it has nothing to do with other people most of the time. So that's where I would come from, is like just the sort of primal element of. That's such a
dope point. Like literally, you have to allow yourself to feel ashamed.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's true. It's totally true, because if you have no shame,
also, you have to allow it, or you just have to observe it. You know, like if you feel shame, then you go like, oh, well, I feel shame. I wonder why. You know, and this is it's a privileged mental state. And I'm not saying that to like get out of shit. It's just true. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a privileged mental state to be like, why do I feel ashamed? Yeah. Oh, I guess it's because of that thing that happened when I was a teenager. Well, I should tackle that or whatever. I feel like I can do that, but I've worked on it for a long time, because I don't have people dying all around me or things that I have to do. You know, I can whatever. So I could basically, I would come from that perspective. But the other perspective, as far as like making a video, is I kind of want to capture you. Like, I kind of, and not capture you as you are even, but capture like, you know, it wouldn't be like, yo, Dan, yo, you like playing basketball. Yo, you're going to play basketball because that's what you like doing or whatever. Like, yo, we're going to get you playing a sick show in a club. Like, I think that's all irrelevant. I think there's a deeper truth that I will always try and get at that, might miss, but at least it's more interesting than if we tried something surefire that's just like every other fucking music video of all time. Like that's why I hate music videos, is they're just delivery systems for most, I was gonna say shitty music, but mostly delivery systems for like just, it's like they're like Instagram posts. Like Instagram basically took music videos and just boiled them down to like 30 seconds or 60 seconds. Like, here, make a video and make it concise and deliver your being to others in the world. And it's like, that's a valid thing to do. But if you're going to do it, why not do something valuable? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Dude, that's a struggle. That's something that I struggle with in literally song to song. And I wonder if it's similar to you with every film that you've made or write. But I struggle with that song to song. I struggle with that with image, like what our image should be. I struggle with that with I want it so literally like, if I were to do a music video, I would want a music video to be different from music videos that I've seen. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I don't want them.
I really think that, in my opinion, and this comes down to, like I was talking earlier about meditation and stuff, like, to me, all of those things are, the answer to them is the absence of those thoughts. The answer to those thoughts is not to figure out what the answer is, it's to not think about it at all. Or, because your image, unless you're deciding that you're going to be someone other than who you actually are, which, is, a lot of people do it. We wouldn't have the Misfits, we wouldn't have, I don't know why the Misfits were the first band that came to my mind, but
it's a good point though.
There's theme bands, and then there's bands of people who are just like, I'm a guy and I play music, and this is the music I play. If you're thinking about image, I think you're off on the wrong foot. But that's just me. That's just me. I don't know. I think once you don't think about those things, once you don't think about even like what your hands are doing when you're playing guitar, like, you're smart and you know how to play guitar and you've been making music for a long time. If you just do it and you just see what happens when, ideally, and this is very hard to do and I couldn't even do it, but let's just say ideally, hypothetically, you could just totally turn your fucking brain off and just play guitar. What would come out? Like, that would probably be the best thing for you. Or like the best thing for me would be if I could write, which I can not. I should make it very clear. I actually hate writing. I'm not good at it, but I have to do it or else there's no material for me to work with,
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone really likes writing, but if I could, ideally, I would just turn my brain off and just vomit my brain into my computer so that and just kind of sift through it and make something of it. But unfortunately, I kind of have to do that work for myself and then make my fingers move and then have something. But as close as I can get to turning off my head, is where the value comes for me.
I think you're totally right about that. Like, for me, I find that. So there's different ways of coming up with an idea for a song or even coming up with a song. So whether it be me just sitting there playing guitar and I come up with, and something happens where I'm like, that sounds interesting to me. And then that'll spawn into basically what could be a full song. And then there's some times where literally themes, like ideas, someone might say, I don't know. Honestly, I've been getting a lot more ideas from podcasts, like just hearing people talk about what, you can give shame as an example, like, just how people are ashamed of things. So that spawned in, like, I'd like to write a song about that. I'd like to write a song about the Cuban Revolution, for example. You know what I mean? Just like random shit like that. And it just helps me come up with like, okay, so this is like something different that I haven't done, and then also it's for me, it makes it easier to to kind of put myself in a place where I can write to it. I don't know if that's how that works for you.
No,
but.
that's inspiration. So inspiration is the same thing as meditation. So, or it's not the same thing, but it's analogous. Like, so there's a thing called light meditation. I've never done it before, but it's the idea that you're kind of overwhelming your brain with input, and from that your brain will do things that it won't do otherwise. And you're supposed to stare into a light. Actually, this is probably a really bad example, but you can meditate on something. When people say meditating on something, you could look at a dot on a wall and stare at it, and just stare at the dot and let your brain do what it does, and you'd be amazed at the things that happen around that dot. Your brain will start to do things, and that's what being inspired is. It's kind of the same thing. It's like you see something and it ignites something in you. You just still there's an element of still turning your brain off. It's like you go in that direction, you just don't question it. Like, it's kind of like basketball. Bring it back to I do this all the time. You're not the only person. I do this with people who do not play basketball. I relate everything to basketball now. The shots go in when I turn my brain off.
Yeah.
Everything is better when I turn my brain off. I don't, I would imagine like this conversation, for instance, like if I came into this conversation thinking about what I was going to say or how I was going to whatever, which I'm not going to say didn't happen a little bit because I've never done anything like this before. But if I was like ruminating over it or whatever, you would probably tell, or like it would be something where I wouldn't be in the moment. And being in the moment is what makes a conversation between you and I like valuable. Like, yeah, playing basketball, it's like we don't know whose team we're going to be on when we show up. We don't know what the scenario. I don't know if I'm going to injure myself. Actually, yeah, I do. I will probably injure myself. as you well know. Yeah, exactly. But I'll keep playing, damn it. So you don't know what's going to happen, but being in the moment is what breeds the positive result. And the positive result, all you want is to feel good. Yeah. That's all you want. Like, it's not like, it's nothing else. Like, the whole thing of making art and everything, it doesn't even value. Like, people who do the best things in the world don't feel anything but good about what they're doing, like, and it makes them feel, I won't even say it makes them feel good. It just gives you purpose. And, I just took it to a crazy extent, but basically our brain is doing so much more than, like, I guess the way I could say it's like, that movie Limitless, where it's like you take Limitless pill or whatever, that part of our brain that we're not using or whatever is very much active. We're just not paying attention to it. And it's like the majority of our brain will still do the weight of the work of our lives and our creative lives and all that kind of stuff. We just have to let it. We just have to trust it, because all the 20% or whatever of our brain that we actually do actively use. Can you hear me? You froze.
Yeah.
Okay. But the 20% of our brains that we do like actively use are the part that has all the shitty things too. Like all the things where we go like, maybe I shouldn't think that, or maybe that's like, basically my entire like teenage years was that 20% was just the 20% of my brain that was very limited was filled with things that I do not believe anymore, because I was raised in a family that believes a lot of things that I don't believe anymore. Yeah. And they're not bad people or anything. I don't want to say that, but it's just it's corruptible. That 20% is corruptible. The other percentage of it, I really feel like, is where like goodness comes from. It's where like the shitty person or like the racist or the sexist or whatever finds themselves in a position where they have to hate, or they have to help someone that they're supposed to hate, and they help them. That's that subconscious other 80% where it bypasses the 20% that makes all the shitty decisions and votes and all that kind of stuff. I really think that And that's the thing about meditation too, is it doesn't make all of that 80% accessible to you. I think it just kind of makes you aware of it, and it makes you trust it more. And you don't really question yourself. Like, there are certain people, once again, talk about privilege, that like, they can't help but think terrible things. It's like their nature. And if you are not one of those people, you're really fucking lucky. And it's kind of incumbent on us to like use our functioning brains as best as we can.
You mean like in terms of like depression? Is that what you mean?
Well, depression or psychosis or any sort of mental health issue, and you could be born with them, or you could acquire them, you could get in an accident, whatever. To be able to have full control of the 20% that we do have. I keep saying 20%.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's a representation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But to have control of that is a privilege, and to be creative in this moment, I feel like I've never understood creativity as much as I do right now, because there's the absence of everything else. Like, there kind of is nothing else. At my house, we've been having movie nights.
Mm-hmm.
So like, just me and two of my friends just watching movies every night at 8:00, and I program them, by the week, and we watch them and whatever. And I don't know about them, but for me, it's energizing. Like it's
inspiring.
It's inspiring. It's like special. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I think about how, if things were really going down, if you got sick, or if like someone I knew got sick or something like that, I wouldn't be able to enjoy these movies every night at 8:00. Like, I wouldn't be able to like sort of put anything out of my head, because I care all about everyone that I know. And if anyone's in a bad place, it's not good. So for while it's good, and I hope it stays good, it's just like everything that we can do to like put things into our brains that make us feel good, that educate us, that make us feel connected, all those kinds of things, I feel like gives us control over our brains, and I think that's the most important thing right now. Like, I've got some other friends that we were about to start a space, that we were gonna have shows, and we were gonna have like show movies, and we 4 other friends. We were talking about this for months, and we actually got a space. It's like a church on Waters, and we were planning a show there. And then this shit went down, and we were meeting every week, and the meeting itself for me was like the best part. Like, I love the working towards doing something good for the community. I love all that, and the reason I loved being together was because we were doing something good. But I just loved seeing my friends. So now we're doing something where we're going to put together like a live stream show kind of thing. But it might be music. We're still talking about it, but there's definitely going to be like skits and like pieces that are very much related to the things that are going on and whatever. But it's, for me, and we've talked about this in the group, it's like there's a big mental health component of what's going on right now, because you have like tons of people like in either trapped in houses with people that they can't get out of the houses with, trapped in houses with people that they love more than anything, that they're testing that love. Like, people are going through like profound, like romantic, and then the downfall from that experiences. But people who had mental health, and those are healthy people. But then people who are unhealthy coming into this are the people who are just like holding on by a string and that kind of shit. Like, for like more than ever, like I hope that now people get sort of centered. And I hate to say like everyone should meditate because it makes me sound a certain kind of way, but truly like control of one's own thoughts in times like this, I think is so important, because if shit is going to happen to me or to someone that I know, I'm better prepared if I'm taking care of myself right now.
For sure, yeah.
And I'm also in a better position to do what I do, which is work on a project in my shed, which we will not talk about. You're breaking it. Am I breaking up?
I totally agree with it. Barely, honestly. It's nothing crazy. No, I'm just listening to you. I mean, the thing with the Skype stuff is if I say something while you're talking, it'll literally cut the audio out. So that's why I haven't been saying anything. So I'm just letting you talk that way, and also listening too. Oh yeah, I guess I could. Yeah. Oh, you just took a photo, you son of a bitch.
I didn't mean to. I was trying to post.
But yeah, so kind of going back on that, yeah, I totally agree, and it's funny that you say that, because I actually haven't thought of the people that might be kind of like going crazy through this right now, but I totally agree. Like, this is a great time for anyone to really kind of figure themselves out. You know, you've been distracted long enough. It's time to finally get over, or not get over, but rather work on yourself. You know, be happy, man, because anything can be taken away from you. I mean, for myself, it's been, and not to sound like a victim or whatever, but it's been in my life where I've had to deal with deaths early on in my life. I dealt with a weird childhood, and then obviously, recently, I had like 4 people die in the past 2 years. So it's like, it's fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah. But and then also going off of that too, it's interesting how, for me personally, I find myself, although going through those hard times can be, obviously they're super sad, and it's not like I'm not, it's not like I don't feel that stuff now, but it does give me this weird, it does give me a weird inspiration to want to create, to kind of like almost like have a, if I were to visualize it, if I were to give it some sort of visual, it would be like a dead body, and then like a flower blooming out of that dead body. You know what I mean? Like creating something beautiful out of terrible darkness. You know what I mean? So
that is
like that's
kind of what this has to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like our only choice. It's either that or just a dead body.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. That's fucking true. It's funny because it's like it sounds so like posh and deep and shit, but it's like legit the honest truth, man. Like,
no, I mean it is like, this is I really freaked out, initially, because I wanted everyone in my life to care that this was happening. Not like, hey, this is a big deal, you should fucking say it or whatever. I just wanted people to take care of themselves, to know what was about to happen. And that drove me crazy. And it shouldn't have. Like, I that's just how I dealt with it, because we've never been in this situation. And I've people that I care about that I can't help. You know what I mean? Like, they're out of reach. So like the people that were within reach, I just wanted to impart, I felt like I was like early on the cusp of this shit. Yeah. Just mostly just because of the things that I'm paying attention to. But people were, I was very much saying that this was a big deal when people were not thinking it was a big deal, even smart people. And it made me freak out. And I feel like that was really good. Like, I'm glad that I freaked out. I'm glad that I kind of turn my brain off to just freak out for a while, so that I could turn my brain back on indefinitely. Like I needed one last like moment of, I'm gonna go to the club and get wasted. I mean, I didn't actually do it, just proverbially, like metaphorically. Just like one last moment of like wiling out, having this ridiculous, like, I need to react right now. Like, I just need to like explode. And I kind of, unfortunately, I did that to a few people that I was like trying to be like, no, this is a big deal, like da 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 da. And the dust settled over it, or whatever. And I just reacted to that. And I was like, wow, I was like really freaking out. That did me no good. Like that, whatever. And now I feel like I can take all of this shit day by day. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where this is going to go or whatever. But I think some people, the reason I'm saying that is because I feel like some people are still going to freak out. Like they haven't freaked out yet. And some people may never freak out. And those people I envy. I would love to.
Oh, yeah.
If you've gone to
there's a lot of people.
Sorry,
No.
World Star Hip Hop. If you go on World Star Hip Hop,
haven't.
there's like a video every day where there's like, this is all like not real or whatever. And you just look at the comments. Like, I don't know why they're doing that or whatever, but you look at the comments and it's just like, I think they're all bots. Like, I think they're bots who are trying to end the world because they're just like, yeah, all fake. No one's dead. This is all trash. No one believes this, blah, blah, blah. And you just go down through the comments and it takes you like 6 pages to get to like everyone else, the other 90% of people that are just like, this is bullshit. This is people are, dying, whatever.
Yeah.
Still this like, it could drive anybody fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Having all,
Well, and the other thing too, like the main thing that I feel could happen to either of us too is like, depending on the length of how long this lasts, that could drive people crazy. I mean, if we're stuck not doing shit for a year, for 2 years, whatever it might be. I mean, I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, but we don't know. And if it does last that long, who's to say that for people that are cool now, they won't fucking start freaking out later. You know what I mean?
True. There are going to be people who freak out. There is going to be shit that happens. To me, what I think is like, there's going to be a point where it snaps into place that we're all in the same situation.
Yeah.
And I feel like that for some people that might be clear and they're already feeling that and feel kind of connected through things like this, like we talk like this. But there's still people who feel very entitled to the life that they were living before this and will not. They're just like, I want to go to the movies, or I want to go and I want to go on this Tinder date, or, I want to do whatever the fuck I want to do. And it's, to greater and lesser degrees, you could go on that Tinder date, you could have sex with that person, and nothing bad could happen.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's happening all the time.
Yeah.
But there's still a circumstance. There's going to be a point where enough of those people, even if it's like 2 Kevin Bacon steps away from you, where it's like, someone who knows someone who got really sick or died from this thing, to just be like, oh shit, I need to take this seriously. That's going to still take a little while, I think, to happen for everyone to have that kind of like close relation to what's going on.
Yeah.
But, this country, especially like America, has like kind of raised us to get used to the way we live our lives. Like,
yes, sir.
We're programmed.
Dude, it's funny too, because like something like this makes me realize how rebellious we are as people. Like Americans, we're so rebellious, man. Like, yeah. Like to think, and it is a privilege. I'll say it's a privilege to be rebellious, but it's crazy to think how, and maybe I don't really know other people from other countries, but I just feel like this sense of like Americans are constantly thinking that the government is going to take over. They're constantly wanting to fight against them. They're wanting to protect themselves against them. And if I'm being honest, like with the stuff that's happened recently with like, the presidency and all this shit, I trust adults way less now, at least people in power. You know, I
Right.
trust them way less. And
Well, I think it's funny. It's a weird irony, though, not to get political, because this is not a political statement. I just think it's funny that uh, that whole thing of like, we need to keep our guns because we need to fight the government. We can't trust the government. Those people are the ones who voted in this government that they're now nervous to fight. But now we're all, the left is nervous, the right is nervous, everyone's nervous. It's this. There's an entitlement that is very much what Tiger King is about. Is literally they feel entitled to own tigers and to like hug tigers and probably fuck tigers or whatever the fuck these pieces of shit do. They're terrible human beings, but they feel privileged and entitled, which is I think why it went viral and why it became kind of popular, is because it's singularly American. It's like only Americans would do this, and definitely only Americans find this interesting.
It's funny because I find that there's so much darkness to that, but there's also kind of, I would say there's some beauty to that as well. It allows the people like you and I, not to say that not everyone is like this, but it allows us to kind of be super creative and not really back on ideas or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we're not afraid to express ourselves in this way because of the kind of place that we grew up in. You know what I mean?
Oh, are you talking about America?
Yeah, I would say so.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. There's a top side and a bottom side to everything. Like, especially you give people freedom, people are going to use that freedom to do great things, and they're going to use freedom to do terrible things. But what freedom we're given depending on who you're asking. But yeah, I don't know. I think this kind of, it's like this whole situation like neutralizes everything. We're all on an even, like your podcast right now has the same production value as Saturday Night Live. Overnight, you have the exact same like show as like Jimmy Fallon. And that kind of neutralized everything where everything kind of looks the same. You look the same as people who are, hosting the biggest shows or whatever, because we're all just in our fucking houses right now. Yeah. And I hope that like the benefits of that, sorry, I gotta adjust here.
No, you're good,
I hope the benefits of that become like clear to people, because I don't know. I guess I lost my train of thought a little bit, but yeah, I know I was talking about.
I get what you're saying. I think what you're trying to say is like basically, I hope that people kind of realize that you don't need to be fed this fucking this is like celebrity bullshit to actually find some good content. You know what I mean, or something interesting. It doesn't have to be from this super polished and fucking publicized thing to realize that there's actually other good stuff out there that is super small, like what I have here.
Well, I think you reminded me. I think kind of it's like this thing where now we're all in our houses and we're all kind of on an even keel, should in theory bring about positive results, because now there's far fewer people being yelled at work or being subjugated in whatever spaces they're in normally or whatever it is. Like, people are experiencing less of the shitty world, along with the less of the good world that they're not experiencing too. But I feel like the effects of that haven't been seen yet. Like, maybe we'll see that, maybe over time. I hope that we'll see that, but right now I feel like everyone's like clinging to the life that we did live, as opposed to kind of embracing not even the future, just right now. Like, what's happening right now? Everyone is very much like clinging to something that may never happen again. That's now nostalgia. Like the life before this is like thinking of the 90s or something. They're literally saying we can't shake hands anymore.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
This is a fundamental like change in our species.
I don't see. I don't think like I understand that concept, but I also don't think we have to go to those grounds because, oh, maybe I'm being ignorant, but I think that this is only going to happen again, right? This will
Right.
happen again, and it might be worse. It might be not as bad, but it's definitely going to happen again. And like my only hope is that for the next time it happens, us as a country or whatever will be more prepared for it. And also the people that are living through it now will remember what the fuck happened and be like, I'm not going to freak out and buy out all the toilet paper for some fucking reason. You know what I mean?
Good luck with that. This
Yeah.
is the shortest attention span that you could imagine collectively in this country.
Well, that's a good thing, though, because this is lasting longer than our attention span, and it's kind of forcing us to realize that the kind of life we were living before was kind of it was crazy and privileged. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
And I hate
Well, for
throwing that
sure.
word around, but it's just the truth.
No, I mean, yeah, it's. I mean, it's the whole privilege thing. Like I've said it a few times. I see it, especially now, because other people all I'm seeing is footage of people in shittier positions than I'm in.
True.
So it's like there's almost no other word for it. But especially thinking of people who are in my position, like trapped in their houses, but they don't have access to their doctor, or they don't have da-da-da. That's honestly where my brain goes right now, because it's probably across the street from me. Like it's probably really close to me that someone is really going through tough shit, or they're going to very soon. So that
have you found people being nicer generally? Like I just met my neighbor for the first time, Clark Brooks. Shout out, he's a comedian. I found out, and
whoa.
yeah, he works at the Tampa Theater, so it was like nice to meet the guy finally. It was cool.
Works at the Tampa Theater?
Yeah.
Clark Brooks works at the Tampa Theater. I mean, I probably know him if I saw him, to be honest. Going to the Tampa Theater.
But yeah, man, like
yo, Clark, hit me up, dog.
If he watches this. But yeah, man, it was just like, like it's that I feel like that aspect is nice because I do like people, and it's weird that I just like meeting you, for example. You met me at a time in my life where I was just becoming comfortable, kind of meeting new people and going out more often, and kind of not being super anxious about that. Like it's weird. Like you guys are all cool shit, right? But I've never.
That's right.
Like. I'm such a weird person that I should have invited you guys to hang out, or like gone to hang out with you guys. You know what I mean?
No, I mean,
but
dude,
but it's just like for example, the conversation that we're having right now, we've had these kind of conversations, so that would tell me like you're a cool dude, and I can like if we hung out, it would be a really cool time because we would probably just end up talking the whole time and having
the way that I look at it. Yes, but we play basketball together like a lot.
Yeah, it's true.
And we would not just be like, yo, what up? Let's ball. We would talk.
Yeah.
We got the reason we're doing this right now is because we like hanging out.
It's true.
So I feel like it reminds me of there's a radio show where the two hosts of the radio show didn't get along, and they like you probably know Opie and Anthony.
Yeah,
so they didn't get along. Yeah. So they didn't get along, and I just remember this, a long time since I heard this, but I remember he was like, it was Opie who had a problem with Anthony, and Opie was like, we never hang out outside of work. And Anthony, I just remember, it's just like indelible in my brain. He's just like, what the I see you 3 fucking hours every day. Like, why do you want to see more of me? Like, I don't love you that much. And or it's not even that. It's like, it's not even that. It's like, I don't see, he was like, I don't even see my girlfriends that much. I don't see like my best friends that much. I see you more than I see almost anybody else in my life. So that's like an extreme version of that, where it's like, I value basketball like so fucking much. Like it is so high on my list of shit that I like to do that hanging out with you outside of it is almost a downgrade.
That's fair though, because the truth is, whenever like my brothers or my best friends come over, that's what we go do. We go play basketball, whether it
Yeah.
be doing that and writing music or whatever. But like that is always that's a major thing. Like I want to go play with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm trying
actually,
to bring people from my outside life to play basketball, not people from basketball to my outside life, because basketball's where it's fucking at.
yeah, that's true.
Because
But
you
so
can hang out after.
that's true, yeah. So actually, like now that we're talking about that, I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting this. But I would love to have you on again so that we
Yeah,
can
of course.
go in depth into basically like I would love to do this talk about basketball and also talk a little bit more about film and stuff like that. But
Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
definitely because man, those are it's to me the way that we talk about that kind of sport and stuff like that. It's just it's such an it's like and not to say that we're not as good at these as like professionals or whatever, but I feel like we at least even can have the philosophy that they might have of basketball. You know, it's not just
Oh,
a
absolutely.
game. You know what I mean? It's like there's so much more into it. So I would love to have that conversation, but
Well,
before I
I will
let
say
you go,
before it's well, you go first. You do the before you let me go first.
I was gonna say, what would you like to plug for yourself?
Oh, um, I'll come on again when I have something to plug. I'm
Okay.
working on stuff. I'd like to plug health. Everybody wash your hands. Squirty, squirty. Yeah,
Gross.
no, just plug taking care of your goddamn selves. Nothing I'm doing is that interesting yet. So we'll get there. But what I would like to say is that you specifically have been an incredible element of my basketball experience because you have always been better than me. But sometimes you suck enough that I can kind of feel like I'm good. And it was at times when I really needed to feel that way. And you're very encouraging, and you're very you're just you're good competition. Like I I don't know if I would be nearly as good as I am at basketball only a couple of years in if I didn't play you. And I wouldn't want to play you if I didn't like hanging out with you. So it's like the best of both worlds.
That's cool,
So
man. That's a nice compliment. I really appreciate that. And I would say the same for you, man, to be
basketball's been
honest.
very important to me. So it's very, with all this shit that I'm talking about, meditation and film and creativity and everything, basketball is like, the fifth side of the star kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you've been a big part of it, and I'm happy to do your podcast anytime. I'm happy to talk, or as soon as we flatten the curve, you should come over to Gus's and I could show you what I've learned in the last couple months.
Oh, I would love that, dude. Yeah. Yeah, man, let's I'm down. If you're free next week, I'd love to do it again next week.
Absolutely, make it a regular thing.
Fuck yeah, man. All right, well, thank you for coming on, Andrew. I haven't even said your name. I'll do an intro video to introduce you, but thanks for doing it, man. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon, bro.
Thanks, man. Stay safe, brother.
Yeah, man, you too.